Hey guys, it's Misty, and as promised, it's time for my July TBR. So I said last month that I was going to try to stick with doing 4 or 5 books for the month, and then anything else I read will just be extra. I'm going to go ahead and do 6 though, because 6 was all I was really planning on, and it seems silly to have 5 and then a maybe, and especially because one of them's already half read, so really it is kind of like 5. These are all Austenite books. They're all for Austen in August, so they're all either an adaptation or a continuation of Jane Austen's works, or inspired by in some way. First up, For Darkness Shows the Stars by Diana Peter Friend. I've already mentioned how absolutely geeked I am for this book and how beautiful it is. This is a very, very far futuristic sci-fi retelling of Jane Austen's Persuasion, which I think just sounds absolutely brilliant. I have not heard a bad review of it yet, and am like beyond stoked to be reading this, and I have to thank Liz of Consumed by Books for sending it to me. So I'll definitely be covering this in Austen in August, and hopefully I'll be able to get some involvement with Diana. Can't wait to share this one with you guys. Persuade Me by Juliet Archer. Again, another persuasion retelling, which wasn't necessarily intentional, but it does kind of work out perfect because this year's read-along is going to be persuasion. So it's nice that I'm going to have a bunch of books that tie in with that, especially because I love persuasion. It definitely battles with Pride and Prejudice for my favorite book. It really completely depends on what mood I'm in, whether I want Darcy or Wentworth. I think P&P tends to win out because I'm much more of an Elizabeth than I am an Anne, but God, I would take a Wentworth any day, especially if he looks like Rupert Penry Jones. Have you seen him? Ah! Anyway, this is a contemporary retelling, and sounds really fun. I had some participation from Juliet last year for Jane and June, and we talked about this book. I think we had an excerpt and an interview and some stuff. But it wasn't quite out yet, so this year I get to actually read it. Oh, it's signed too, I forgot to mention that. And it's signed by Juliet. But anyway, I will be covering it this year. Jane Austen Made Me Do It, edited by Laurel Ann Nattrass. This is a short story anthology, has a bunch of authors in it. Very, very varying. Very, very varying. That's going to be really confusing for you guys. It has a myriad of authors in it. Just across the spectrum, just very different authors, very different styles. I already started reading this in June. Looking forward to that. Pride and Prejudice Hidden Lusts by Mitzi Soretto. This one is some sexy times. This is some serious sexy times. I had participation from Mitzi last year where she had talked about this, and I don't think it was out yet. But it's a very, very smutted up version of P&P, but like completely tongue-in-cheek and just silly and over the top with it. I reviewed a book called Red Velvet and Absinthe that was edited by Mitzi, and her story in it was hilarious. So I'm really looking forward to this because I have a feeling it's going to be really funny. Darcy Fitzwilliam by Karen V. Wasilowski. This one I'm really excited for. I wanted to read it last year because Sourcebooks had sent me a copy, but I couldn't fit it in, and that kind of made me sad. But it's such a beast. It's so thick. I probably should have picked it up before now just because it is so thick, but I've heard really good things, so I don't think it's going to necessarily be a struggle to get through, but I mean, it's a doorstopper. But it sounds really interesting. It explores the relationship between Darcy and his cousin, Colonel Fitzwilliam, and it's an interesting dynamic, so I'm curious to see where she goes with him. And lastly, Pride and Popularity by Jenny James. This is a contemporary retelling of Pride and Prejudice, obviously. Jenny contacted me last year, I don't remember if it was during Jane and June or just after, and said that she had this coming out and wanted to know if I would be interested in reading it, and I said, well, absolutely, we can include it in next year's event. So we're going to have that, and likely some participation from Jenny, so definitely have to check that out. If I manage to get through all of those, I have many, many more Jane books, and I still have to do my round of publisher contacting, so I might end up with some others that I absolutely have to read that I don't know about yet. So I'm going to do my best to start plugging away at that so that I can start preparing to get my Austen on. So I'm sure that none of you are going to spend your entire month reading Austen adaptations, so let me know what you're planning on reading for the month of July and what you think of the books that I'm reading. Also let me know your favorite Austen adaptations, or your favorite Austen book, or if you have anything you'd like to see included in Austen in August. Basically Austen, Austen, Austen. Anything. Comment away. That's all for me for now. Make sure you check out my rewind for June so you can see what I thought of what I read in June. And as promised, I also have another book haul coming up in a few days, and it has some good ones in it. But until then, happy reading!